Have you ever felt like fate had a strange sense of humor? Like it was weaving a story just for you, with threads of joy, regret, and maybe, just maybe, a second chance? Our story begins not in a glittering penthouse, but in the shadows of a place many try to forget, a city homeless shelter. The air, still and cool, seems to hold its breath as a sleek, black car pulls up, an anomaly in this world of worn brick and faded signs. Inside, a man, Alex Bradford, a millionaire entrepreneur, steps out. But why is he here? Is it genuine compassion, or perhaps a carefully curated public image? Alex, an image of success, his tailored suit screaming wealth and power, moves hesitantly towards the shelter's entrance. His life is a whirlwind of skyscrapers and high-profile deals. This world, a chaotic symphony of human resilience, is foreign to him. His PR team, eager to soften his image, suggested this visit, a charitable campaign to showcase a side of him that's been questioned lately. But as he walks through the worn doorway, the sounds of laughter and gentle chatter fill the air. He sees families huddled together, volunteers serving warm meals. Joy amidst the hardship. It tugs at something deep inside him, something he can't quite name. Inside the shelter, the air is thick with the smell of disinfectant and simmering soup. Alex, usually commanding attention, feels strangely out of place. His polished shoes tap against the worn floor as he walks with a cautious confidence. Volunteers are handing out bowls of soup. Here is meticulously crafted persona, the one projected to the world, seems to dissolve into the background. And then he sees her, a familiar silhouette, seated in a corner, cradling a small bundle. Could it be? He moves closer, his heart pounding like a drum. It's Emily, his ex-wife of 6 months, now a year ago. Her once vibrant brown hair is limp, her face pale and hollow. But in her eyes, he sees a quiet strength, a protective tenderness as she cradles a newborn. The scene jars him. The Emily he knew, who once graced their opulent home, now sits here in threadbare clothing. How did she fall so far? A painful wave of memories washes over him. Their whirlwind romance, their tumultuous marriage, the divorce that tore them apart. She hasn't seen him yet, her entire world focused on the child she holds. Alex's heart is heavy with unspoken questions. He watches her, completely absorbed in motherhood. She hums a lullaby, a familiar tune that stirs an ache within him, a longing for what they once shared. She seems lost in her love for the little one, unaware that her ex-husband is just feet away. They haven't spoken since their bitter divorce, each blaming the other, each nursing their own wounds. And now, seeing her here, so vulnerable, yet so resilient, Alex is overwhelmed with guilt and an intense curiosity. What brought her to this place? And whose baby is she holding? A volunteer approaches Emily, offering her a bowl of soup, a small gesture of kindness in a world of hardship. Alex notices the exhaustion etched on her face, the lines that speak of sleepless nights and untold struggles. She's not wearing her wedding ring, which seems like an exclamation point to the story of their broken marriage. How did they get here? And why is her current reality hitting Alex so hard? Unable to resist the pull, Alex crosses the room, his heart racing with uncertainty. This wasn't just a fall from grace. It's a plummet into a world he had never considered. The room falls silent as Alex approaches. He clears his throat softly, and Emily looks up. Her eyes widen with shock, a mixture of disbelief and something else he can't quite decipher. He hasn't seen this woman, who he once vowed to cherish, in over a year. What is this strange new version of Emily? Time seems to freeze. Their gazes lock, and the air becomes thick with unspoken words, a mixture of hurt and old love that still lingers. "Alex," she whispers, her voice hoarse. It's not a greeting, but a question laced with disbelief. It's as if she is seeing a ghost. His polished appearance is a stark contrast to her surroundings. "Emily," he replies, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. He's captivated by the tiny baby in her arms. It's as if the world is falling away, and only the two of them exist in this humble place. What are you doing here?" Emily's expression hardens, and for a moment, Alex fears she will shut him out. Instead, she sighs, her shoulders sagging under an invisible weight. It's a long story. Is she willing to tell it? Does he deserve to hear it? "I have time," Alex replies, pulling up a chair. It's a promise, spoken with a quiet intensity. The weight of their shared past settles between them. The unspoken questions loom large. Hesitation flickers across her face, her fingers tightening around the baby's blanket. This is not the man she remembers, so why is he showing up now? She avoids his gaze, her eyes searching for an escape, but there is none. Finally, she meets his eyes, and Alex sees a flicker of vulnerability, a raw truth that disarms him. "Why are you here?" she challenges, her voice sharper now. "This doesn't seem like your kind of place." Alex pauses, his usual confidence faltering. He doesn't know how to answer her. He tries to focus on the situation at hand. How long had she been here? How old is he? Alex asks, his voice barely above a whisper. It's an attempt to break the tension, or maybe it's the first step into understanding. 2 weeks, she replies, her voice almost inaudible. 2 weeks. The calculation flashes through Alex's mind. 2 weeks since Emily gave birth. He struggles to process this information, pushing aside his confusion. Instead, he tries to focus on Emily and the baby. "Emily," he begins, his voice gentler. "What happened to you?" But her eyes flash with pain. "You mean after you walked out on me?" she shot back. "After you left me to pick up the pieces?" The accusation is like a punch to the gut. He opens his mouth to defend himself, but Emily stops him with a hand raised. As he looks at Emily now sitting in the homeless shelter, it's like watching a movie of the past. He remembers the moment when they first met, where he was immediately taken in by her effortless grace. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Now, the circumstances are so far from what he thought their life would be. He remembers the passionate and volatile arguments they had, each one a deeper cut into their already strained relationship. Their disagreements quickly escalated into shouting matches. Emily accused him of prioritizing his work, while Alex felt she didn't understand the pressure he faced. He recalls the final argument, still echoing in his mind. Emily's accusations of being emotionally absent, treating her like just another acquisition. He remembers lashing out, saying things he didn't mean, words that cut too deep to take back. The next morning, Emily was gone. No note, no explanation. It was a painful, abrupt end to their relationship, and it left a hole in Alex's life. A year has passed, and now he's seeing her again, in a place he never imagined. It's a shocking revelation. He can't believe it. She's here. Where does he go from here? He attempts to respond to her accusations, but she cuts him off. "Do you know how hard it has been?" Her voice is filled with pain. "You went back to your life, but I was left with nothing." Alex looks down at his hands, a heavy weight settling on his shoulders. He had been so consumed with his own success that he didn't see her pain. How could he have been so blind? He looks up at her again. Her eyes are narrowed, a defense shield in place against the man who had hurt her. "Why didn't you call me?" he asks. Why didn't she let him know that she was hurting? How did she end up here, in this terrible situation? Why would I? she retorted. So you could try to fix me again? There's an undercurrent of anger in her words, resentment, and also a hint of sadness. You know that wasn't true, he says, but his voice falters. They both know that she never felt seen. She never felt prioritized. But is that what he truly believed? It's as if she's reading his thoughts. She says, "You never saw me, Alex. You only saw your own reflection in me." Her words cut deep, and he knows that they're not entirely wrong. He says, "I can help you. You don't have to be here, Emily. This is not where you belong." A mix of emotions swirl inside him. Guilt, regret, and a desire to somehow make amends. Emily's laugh is bitter. "And where do I belong, Alex? In your penthouse, pretending to be happy? Is that where he wants her?" He realizes that what he wants is the person he fell in love with, not the wife who tried to make him happy. His gaze falls to Oliver, sleeping peacefully in her arms, and his tiny hand is gripping her sweater. A pang of emotion hits Alex hard. Is he mine?" he whispers, the question heavy with anticipation. Emily stiffens. "Does it matter?" she asks defensively. He could have been there for her during her pregnancy, but he wasn't, and his actions might have changed their whole life. "It matters to me," he says, his voice firm. Alex needs to know the truth. He needs to know the whole story. "If he's my son," he pauses. She cuts him off, saying, "Yes, he is." Her voice is soft, but her eyes are filled with sadness. She admits that she hoped she could start over, build a life without his influence, without the constant need to please. Is that really how she felt? "It worked for a while," she continues. "I got a small apartment, started painting again." She reveals her attempt to rebuild her life. It wasn't a lavish life, but it was hers. She finally felt free. Her eyes drop to Oliver, and she adds quietly, "But then he came along and everything changed. I had nowhere else to go." She is stating her truth, and there's nothing to hide anymore. Her voice is filled with exhaustion, and the weight of her situation presses down on her. Alex leans forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "Emily, you should have called me. You should have let me help." Her eyes flash with anger, and her voice rises. "Would you have answered? Or would I have been just one more thing on your to-do list, one more problem to solve between meetings and mergers?" Alex winces at her words. He knows they carry weight, and he can't deny the truth in them. She continues, her voice trembling now. "I wasn't just afraid of you rejecting us. I was afraid of losing myself all over again. Is it possible that what he thought was love was just his control? He had a pattern of controlling her, but he thought he was taking care of her. Maybe, in fact, he was suffocating her." Her words force him to confront his own behavior. He recognizes the selfishness, the arrogance that had driven her away. He realizes that he had been so consumed with his career that he lost track of what really mattered. His wife, his family. "I understand," he says. "I can be here for you and for Oliver." He offers his full support, vowing that he can be the father she deserves. "I can support you," he says. His words are sincere, but will they be enough? Will she finally be able to believe his promises? Emily hesitates, her heart a battlefield of hope and fear. She wants to believe him, wants to trust that this time will be different. But her past looms large, a constant reminder of the pain he caused her. "You say that now," she says, her voice soft but firm. "But what happens when things get hard? How do I know you won't fall back into your old patterns?" Alex leans closer, his gaze steady. "You don't," he admits. It's a moment of raw honesty. I can't promise that I'll never make mistakes, but I can promise that I'll work every single day to be the man you both deserve. He is speaking from his heart, wanting to show her that he will change. He reflects on what truly drew him to Emily in the first place, her art and free spirit, how she'd balanced his ambition with her creativity. He remembers how work had consumed him, and how those qualities that drew him to her were replaced by his relentless pursuit of success. He'd lost sight of what truly mattered, and now he wants to fix it. He needs to fix it. The memory of their arguments replays in his mind like an old film. She wanted him to be present, not just a convenient companion. Now, everything is different, and he wants to show her that he can be that man again. How will he make up for lost time? He reaches for his phone and dials a number. It's his mother. He explains everything to his mother, Margaret. How he ran into Emily at the shelter, the baby, and the overwhelming guilt he felt. She is not surprised, but rather concerned for his well-being. I don't know how to fix this, he admits, his voice cracking with emotion. I failed Mom. I failed Emily. And now I'm failing Oliver before I even have a chance to be his father. Margaret listens patiently and then says to him, "You can do this, son, but you need to start with understanding why she is here. Emily is proud, but she's also very strong. If she's here, it's because she had no other choice." Her words fuel his determination. He spends his evenings researching shelters, thinking of ways to help them. He is finally seeing things through Emily's eyes. He starts small, respecting her space while showing consistent effort. He anonymously donates diapers, formula, blankets, and food. He works with Linda, one of the shelter's coordinators, and together they find ways to resolve their most urgent issues. Linda is impressed with his efforts. "Why are you doing this, Alex?" she asks, but she can see in his eyes that his intentions are genuine. His actions are speaking louder than words. He's learning the struggles and sacrifices she's had to make, and he can finally understand the magnitude of his actions. Over the next few weeks, he shows up every day, not as the millionaire, but as the father, the man who wants to make amends. He helps to clean, play with the kids, and learns from the staff. He realizes how privileged his life was, and how much he took for granted. The shelter is slowly becoming his second home, and he can finally see what really matters. He continues to provide support without seeking recognition. Alex donates anonymously to ensure that the shelter has all they need. He works with Linda and the other coordinators to brainstorm sustainable solutions. He begins to see the world through her eyes. He watches her care for Oliver with love and devotion. One evening, he cradles Oliver gently, humming a tune from his childhood. To Emily's surprise, Oliver calms down. She is mesmerized by how calm Alex is with her son. "You've got the magic touch," she says, a trace of surprise in her voice. He smiles down at Oliver, completely captivated. "He's incredible, Emily. I can't believe I missed so much already." She can tell that he cares deeply for Oliver, and she also can't deny the pull of Alex's devotion. She looks away, trying to mask the emotions that are bubbling up inside of her. She can't get too close to this man. She remembers how much she had been hurt, but she also can't deny the change in him. He is not the same man he was before. More time passes, and Alex continues to help at the shelter. Residents gain job opportunities, and Alex is there every step of the way. He is no longer just donating, but investing his time, effort, and heart to the people who need it. He's showing Emily that he wants to be a part of her world, not just a temporary visitor. Emily watches him closely, her guard slowly coming down. She's starting to notice how the residents look at Alex with gratitude. She sees how his patience and care with Oliver continues to surprise her. She starts to feel a feeling she hasn't felt in a very long time. Hope. Is she ready to risk it all again? One evening, Emily finds Alex sitting alone in the shelter's small garden. She approaches him cautiously, her arms wrapped around herself against the cool night air. "You've been busy," she says, breaking the silence. He looks up, a small smile playing on his lips. "I just want to do what I can to help, Emily." The shelter is now thriving, but also still experiencing the same challenges. It's a bittersweet reminder that there's always more that can be done. He is showing up every day, making a difference, not only in Emily's life, but also the life of the residents. One afternoon, Emily is folding donated baby clothes while Oliver naps. Alex walks in carrying a box of fresh produce he bought at a local market. "I figure the shelter could use some fresh ingredients," he says. It's a small gesture, but it means everything. She's slowly realizing that he is being sincere. He is starting to understand the struggles and the resilience of the people who need the shelter. Emily watches him as he plays with Oliver. She sees his patience and his gentleness. It's a stark contrast to the man she knew before. As she rocks Oliver to sleep, she thinks about Alex's words. She wants to believe him, but her heart is guarded. Her trust is fragile. She's starting to allow herself to feel again. Is he truly sincere? She hopes he is. The next day, Alex shows up with a surprise. "I thought you might like a day off," he says, holding up 2 tickets to a local community event. Linda agreed to watch Oliver for a few hours. Emily raises an eyebrow, surprised. "You convinced Linda to babysit?" she asks, a small smile playing on her lips. This is the beginning of something new. She hasn't felt this hopeful in a very long time. They laugh together, and it's like a heavy weight has been lifted. It's been so long since she has felt this light. They decide to go to the event, and she is grateful to spend some time with him. The day in the park was wonderful, and it was a reminder that their lives weren't always this hard. Over the next few weeks, their relationship begins to blossom. It's like they are building something new, a new relationship that they had never explored before. Alex's actions continue to speak volumes. He is not the same man that she knew. He is showing up every day, not just for Emily, but also for Oliver. He is shedding the arrogance and selfishness that once defined him. For Emily, the journey isn't easy. Trust is fragile, and fear lingers in the shadows. But each act of kindness, each moment of selflessness, slowly begins to build something new between them. Is this all that their relationship needed? Time and patience? It's late one evening, and they are sitting together, just the 2 of them. Emily looks up at Alex, and she sees his vulnerability. It's the first time she has seen this side of him. "I'm still here, Emily, because of you and Oliver." Her heart feels full, but she has to be cautious. This could all go away very easily. Then, one day, disaster strikes. Emily is going over some paperwork when she realizes that their funding has been unexpectedly cut. The shelter is in serious financial trouble. She is devastated, unsure of how to go forward. How could they cut the funding without any notice? "This has to be a mistake," she says, her voice filled with panic. "We've been transparent about every expense." Linda shakes her head. "It's no mistake. I called their office, and they confirmed it. Without the funding, we're in serious trouble." Her heart sinks. How will they recover from this? Alex steps closer. "I'll handle this," he says firmly. "Let me talk to them." Emily's eyes narrow. "Why would they listen to you?" she asks. He hesitates, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Does he still have the power and the connections that he once had? He's not that man anymore. He decides to call a contact, a man named Robert Carrington, and arrange a meeting, intent on confronting the man who pulled the funding. He walks into a high-rise office overlooking the city. It's a world away from the modest shelter where he spends most of his time now. Is he ever going back to this life? "You have some nerve," Robert says, leaning back in his leather chair. "Coming here after I did you a favor." Alex is calm and steady. "Pulling the funding wasn't a favor," he says, his voice cold. "It was sabotage. That shelter is doing incredible work, and you're punishing innocent people." He's willing to fight for what he believes in. He confronts Robert, and he argues for the shelter. He exposes his corruption and his malice. In the end, Robert agrees to restore the funding. It's a huge relief for Alex. Emily had been right. He had the power to change things. Now he has to fix what's broken. That evening, Emily tells him that she's never felt so supported. She opens up to him. "I was so afraid, Alex," she admits, "but I do know that I can't do this alone." She is learning to trust him again. She's starting to believe in their future. Alex reaches for her hand. His touch is gentle and tentative. "You don't have to," he says. "I'm here, Emily, for you and Oliver, for as long as it takes." Her walls are still up, but she feels a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. But will they? The days following Alex's intervention are a whirlwind. The shelter's funding is restored. While the immediate crisis has passed, the emotional toll still lingers for Emily. It's been hard, but she's starting to accept that she can't do this alone. She needs him, just like he needs her. She knows she has to confront her feelings and move forward, but she is still trying to process all that has happened. Is she ready to let Alex back into her life? Alex finds Emily in the shelter's kitchen. She's scrubbing dishes with more force than necessary. He steps inside. He looks at her, trying to read what's going on in her mind. "Emily," he says softly. He knows she is hurting and that she needs time. She doesn't look up. She seems to be lost in her thoughts. "What do you want, Alex?" she says. He wants to tell her that he's sorry again, but those words are no longer enough. "I need to apologize again," he says. She sets down the dish she was washing. "Alex, I don't need another apology," she says. "What I need is time. Time to figure out if I can trust you again." He nods, his expression serious. "I'll give you all the time you need." He will wait for her, no matter how long it takes. He's made a huge mistake, and he is committed to showing her that he has changed, that he is a different man than he was before. "I can't imagine losing you both again," he admits. His gaze is filled with honesty, and he is revealing a new side of himself. "Because losing you was the biggest mistake of my life, and I can't go back to the man I was before." He knows that she is his everything. He tells her, "You've changed me, Emily, you and Oliver. You've shown me what really matters." She is moved by his words. She can see the change in him. She wants to trust him, but she also needs to be cautious. Is she willing to risk it all again? That night, Emily lies awake, her mind racing. She wonders if she can forgive Alex. Can she trust him enough to let him back into her heart? She thinks about all of the ways he's been there for her and Oliver. She knows he has changed. She thinks about the man he was, the one who had swept her off her feet and then left her heartbroken. And then she thinks about the man he is now, humble, patient, and determined to make amends. She doesn't have all of the answers, but she knows that she is willing to find out. She needs to. In the early days, she tests him. She observes his actions. She sees him waking up early to help the staff. She notices how he stays late to ensure that everything is running smoothly. He is truly invested. He's putting in the work, and it is impossible for her to not notice. She can't deny the spark between them. She sees how Oliver looks at Alex with such love and admiration, and how her own heart slowly starts to open. Maybe this is her second chance. This is a reminder that they can be a family again, the family that they always wanted to be. He shows up with flowers and gifts for her and Oliver. He is trying so hard, and she appreciates the effort. The two of them are slowly building a new connection. It's one that is stronger than before, but she has to remember how much she has risked. One warm afternoon, Alex asks her to go on a picnic with Oliver. He wants to spend quality time with his family, just the three of them. She agrees, her heart fluttering. Is this what she always wanted? A chance to be a family with the man she loved? They walk together to the park. They lay out a blanket near the river. They unpack sandwiches, fruits, and snacks for Oliver. The baby is delighted by the surroundings. He laughs as he crawls across the grass. They can finally relax and be a family. As they eat, Emily finds herself relaxing in Alex's presence. He is attentive to Oliver, ensuring the baby is happy and comfortable. He and Emily begin to talk, and they can finally laugh together again. There is a warmth that she hasn't felt in so long. Is it love? Later, when she is alone, watching Oliver sleep, she thinks about how much Alex has changed. He is humble, patient, and determined to make amends. Can she truly forgive him? Can she trust him enough to let him back into her life, not just as Oliver's father, but as her partner? She doesn't have the answers yet, but she knows she is willing to find out. She asks him to join her to help with the shelter. "We could use your help," she says. "I want to be part of your world, not just a visitor passing through." She's hesitant, but she also knows she can't do this alone. She needs help, and she is learning to ask for it. She finally lets go and says, "Okay, but don't think you're getting special treatment just because you are Oliver's dad." Alex smiles. "I wouldn't dream of it." He is happy to be a part of her world. He wants to be the partner she needs, and he is going to show her he is. Time passes, and they continue to grow and build their lives together. They work side by side at the shelter. They find common ground in what is important to them. They are building a family, and everything feels right. They are on the path they were meant to be on. One evening, as they walk through the city, Alex stops abruptly. "I need to say something," he begins, his tone serious. Emily turns to face him, her heart pounding. What is it? What is he going to say? She hasn't felt so happy in a long time, and she's trying to trust what she feels. "I know I hurt you," he says. "I know I let you down in ways I can't take back. But I want you to know that I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. If you'll let me." His vulnerability catches her off guard. She has kept her guard up, protecting herself from being hurt again, but now, she is willing to let that all go. In the quiet of the night, amidst the city's noise, she sees the man he has become. She sees the father Oliver deserves, the partner she could spend the rest of her life with. He is the man she always wanted him to be, and she needs to take a leap of faith. It has been a journey of self-discovery, of redemption. Through it all, Alex and Emily have finally found their way back to each other. It wasn't easy, but they are stronger because of their experiences. Their bond is more real and more special than it ever was before. On the night of the shelter's annual fundraising gala, Alex leads Emily to a secluded rooftop garden. He has transformed the place into a magical space. This is the place where they have both worked so hard. This place is their refuge, and they need a moment for themselves. Surrounded by the soft glow of the city skyline, Alex takes her hand. He gets down on one knee. He looks up at her, his eyes filled with love and hope. He pulls out the ring, a symbol of their new beginning. "Emily," he says, his voice trembling with emotion, "will you marry me again?" She looks at him, her heart full. The man who stood before her was not the man she had married years ago. This was a man who had earned her trust, a man who had shown up every day, not with words, but with action. She whispers a soft, "Yes, Alex," her voice filled with emotion. The cheers from the gala below drift up to the rooftop. Alex slides the ring onto her finger. He embraces her, and she finally allows herself to fully let go. She feels safe, she feels loved, and she has hope for the future. Oliver's laughter breaks the moment as he comes bounding up the stairs. He's clutching a balloon, and it brings a sense of normalcy to the moment. They smile at one another. They are a family again, and they are ready to move forward with hope, happiness, and the promise of forever. If their story has touched your heart, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories.